Hi everyone. Been a bit. I was actually out of town, um, which sounds strange given everything that's going on, but uh, sometimes life stuff happens still during this, and um, so I will save that story for another time. But I am back at home after about 5 weeks of being out of town. So I have a couple of videos I want to do. I'm going to make them pretty short. I'm going to start with the records that I picked up while I was traveling. So some of my travel, or a lot of my travel, was in my car with my dog. We put a lot of miles on our car. We did it all in the safest way imaginable. Maybe not imaginable, but we were as safe as we could be. I guess I'm getting a little bit into the story despite saying I'm going to save it for another time, but we ended up driving instead of flying. Something told me that that might be safer. So we spent a lot of time taking a look at this country, and I'll leave it at that and save it maybe for another video. But what I want to cover here are the records that I picked up while traveling. We only went to one record store. It was the record store owned by a friend of mine, Rediscover Records in Elgin, Illinois, which was opened and is owned by my friend Rich Wagner, a person I really only knew via a music listserv that I was on many, many years ago. I haven't been on it in 10 or so years, but I knew Rich from there, and we finally met mask to mask, I guess you would say. He let me in the store, and we kept large distance from one another. There's only one or so customers in there. But I would say, outside of a few minor exceptions, I never really got very close to anybody on this trip. And I will, in addition to the stuff that I picked up while in Rich's store, I'm going to cover just a few that came in the mail, or stuff that I bought while I was on the road. And then later, there's sort of a separate haul of stuff that arrived back here at my home while I was on the road. This stuff was sent to me where I was. This is making no sense, but let's just say I'm going to cover new records that I purchased in a couple of different videos. So the first one, and this is one of the biggest purchases of my life. It is actually the most money I've ever spent on a record or any music, any physical music that I have, and I had been seeking this out for a good 6 months. Learned about this box set, I think it might have been via my friend Brian. If not, I read a review somewhere, started listening to it digitally, and just absolutely fell in love with it, and was all over Discogs for as I said, about 6 months, maybe 9 months. Could never find it at anywhere near a reasonable price. And then one day it popped up for far less than I had seen it for, because there were some dings on it. That has never been a real big issue with me. As a record collector, I'm not really about how pristine I keep all my records. I like to listen to records and to give them some life, and assuming unless I fall on really hard times, which could happen. It's happening to a lot of people right now. I don't plan on ever selling my records. So having some life to them, I actually like. So this was put out by Temporary Residence in 2012. There were not many of them. It is a beast of a box set. And this is The Disintegration Loops by William Basinski. If you're not familiar, I'm gonna probably not do justice to the story because it's worth reading about. But Basinski, I believe he was living in Brooklyn, and just prior to 9/11, he was going through some old recordings. I think they were radio recordings, like hitting play on the radio or something, and they were on physical tape loops. And he noticed when he was going through these archives that they were disintegrating. They were basically falling apart. So if I have part of the story right, he started recording the disintegration of those sounds. It sounds incredibly highbrow, and it is to some extent, but the music or the sounds that came out of that I find to be absolutely stunning. It's ambient music. It's really, really beautiful. And I guess these became somewhat famous in the sort of indie, classical, I don't know where you want to put it, but it never really hit the masses after 9/11. And I think he actually put this compilation together after 9/11, and some of the imagery is extremely haunting, and or some of the imagery that comes with the box set. You can see it's just a beautifully done box set here. Those are some, I think he took these pictures from his apartment in Brooklyn. I have similar pictures because I was in New York on 9/11, and I had a disposable camera at the time, and there was no cell phone cameras then, and the entire beginning of this box set is just repeat photos, some during the day, some at night, and this is just an absolutely gorgeous box set. And I'm trying to find and I love this, when you open up, it says, "For all of us." So as I mentioned, I've been looking for this for ages. A gentleman in Texas put it up for a reasonable price because it's been knocked around a little bit, which again, I don't mind. I like that. It's been in the hands of somebody before me, and I hope they enjoyed it, and I will plan on doing the same. I will probably throw this on for the first time today. There are 4 records plus a live show, plus the booklet that I just took out, and there's a bunch of CDs as well. This is incredibly comprehensive, and I cannot believe that I now own it. William Basinski, The Disintegration Loops. Thank you to my friend Brian for either you told me about it, or when I found out about it, I asked you, and of course you knew about it. You own the box set. I think you have a mint copy, and this is an absolute treasure that I have this. Reminds me a little bit of the excitement I just watched last night. Henry Rollins unboxing the Stooges Funhouse anniversary box set, which is also a monster. It's just enormous, and the excitement in Henry Rollins' face as he was looking at this new acquisition. I think it was put out by Rhino, puts out incredible box sets. He had the same sort of vigor and thrill. Sorry, I need the computer light here. That I have when I finally got this. So it is available on streaming services. William Basinski, The Disintegration Loops. He has a bunch of other records. Disintegration Loops it's in, as I mentioned, a number of different pieces, but check it out. It's a beauty. And here are, so when I went to Rich's store, I, figured I'd make a few purchases to support his record store, which I've tried to do in the past as well. I have a Rediscover Records t-shirt. I have a coffee mug, maybe some other stuff. He was kind enough to give me a bunch of other stuff, pins, and I have a sticker somewhere. It is a great little record store. So I think it's about an hour or so outside of Chicago. So if you're ever in the area, Rediscover Records, Elgin, Illinois. It's an adorable little town. Rich and I, after the records, we had a drink, and it was really nice to meet him. And he is a kind soul and a lover of music. We talked about Springsteen shows. It was just a wonderful time. So Rich, thanks for hosting me for a couple hours. So here's some of the stuff I picked up. Got the Nas record, Illmatic. I am a huge fan of 90s hip hop. I won't say that I've went that deep, but when I was in high school, the early hip hop was, for a couple of years, that's all I listened to with friends of mine. So I've mentioned a lot of it on this channel. Let me see, I'm actually just gonna try and save. I'm gonna turn there we go. It's a little better. Less of a glare, no, still a glare. There's a little bit less of a glare. So I was a huge fan of Eric B. and Rakim and Public Enemy. That's the first CD I ever bought, I think in 1987 or 1988. Still a top 10 record for me. My favorites were Dougie Fresh, Eric B. and Rakim, and Big Daddy Kane. But Nas was sort of the tail end of my real love of hip hop. Around the mid 90s, I started to sort of lose interest. I never really followed the great acts of that period. So, Biggie and Dr. Dre, and when that's when I moved into sort of my Wilco phase and sort of stopped following. But this is one of the records, one of this was like 1994. So it's right around the tail end of when I stopped following very closely hip hop. But this was a record that I loved, and I am pumped to have it on vinyl. Next, I found this record, which I've never seen in a record store before. David Dondero, Zero with a Bullet. I love David Dondero, and see that Wyoming there. I spent a lot of time on the road in Wyoming over the last couple weeks. But again, this was bought in Illinois. I'm not familiar with this record. I have his record Simple Love, which is an absolutely stunning record. The Archivist did some of the artwork for it, and this is a record I've never heard, but I saw it. I've never seen it in a record store. My friend Rich, his record store, it felt like it was tailored for me, which is not a surprise because we met on that listserv that was around the music that we listened to. But man, he had stuff. Some Uncle Tupelo magazines on the wall, some great replacement stuff on the wall. Yeah, what a store. Picked up the Justin Townes Earl record, Midnight at the Movies. One of the great early Justin Townes Earl records. This came out, looks like this was limited edition of 2000, came out in 2009. Has his cover of Can't Hardly Wait by the Replacements, which is great. But Midnight at the Movies is such a great song. Mama's Eyes, one of the most wonderful songs ever about the importance of moms in our lives. This is a fantastic record, and I can't wait to listen to it. A couple more. Freakwater, one of my favorite bands of the 90s. This came out in 2016. This was their first record, I think, in a long time. I did not have it on vinyl. I have a couple of the records from the 90s. I think it's the 90s. But this one I have heard digitally, and I cannot wait to spin it. Great band from, I believe, Louisville. It's Kentucky. I think it's Louisville. A lot of Bloodshot Records stuff here. I picked up this Bloodshot Records compilation, which has a lot of bands that I absolutely love. Chuck Prophet, who else is on? The Minus Five. This is a great compilation. I asked Rich if it was solid. He said yes. The Handsome Family, Mike Watt, Superchunk, Andrew Bird. Man, this is just a gem of a Caitlin Carey. Wow. The North Carolina Music Love Army featuring Caitlin Carey, Chip Robinson, and Kenny Roby. Caitlin Carey from Whiskeytown, who I think was, in many respects, the heart and soul of that band. Chip Robinson from the Backsliders, one of the most underappreciated and best bands of the past 25, 30 years. And Kenny Roby, of course, of Six String Drag. They're all in the North Carolina area. I know a few of them. I know them in the sense over email. I've spoken to Chip a bunch. I think I met Chip at Lakeside Lounge in New York once. And we have kept in touch over the years, just talking music. And he is a kind soul, as is Kenny Roby, and as is Caitlin. I got some artwork from Caitlin Carey on my wall, as she now does paintings and different very cool designs. So excited to hear this one. And then the last one I received in the mail, and this is the fantastic Lucinda Williams album, World Without Tears. I got this from the Record Safari Gentlemen. I think I've mentioned that documentary. If you have not seen it, it is an absolute joy for record fans or non-fans, just people who want to see movies that are inspiring about people who love the things that they do. This gentleman, his name is Alex Rodriguez, not the former Yankee, Mariner. Who else was he on? Texas. This is Alex Rodriguez of music fame. I guess he has done, or over the years has curated the record stores at Coachella. This guy listens to everything. No genre goes untouched. The documentary called Record Safari is fantastic. I started following him on Instagram, and he from time to time just sells records out of his collection. Not only did he send me this, but he sent me two others, which he sent for free. Let me see if I can find them. Found them. I don't know these records. He sent me this and this on the house. He is a good man. If you can find him, you can find him. I think his handle is Record Safari on Instagram. He is worth following just to see his love of records and record collecting. And I can't thank him enough for sending me a couple free records, plus a record that I listened to last night and absolutely love. Oh, I have to do a record. I always forget this. By a band that, let me see if I can find something on the fly. It's not looking good. I may have to pass on that this week. I will do two in my next video. Two records that are underappreciated that I wish you all would listen to. So another video coming very shortly. Good to see you all. Hope you are all hanging in there. And thanks again to my friend Rich. Take care.